If your life depended on telling a story, what would you say? Each night, Scheherazade tells a tale to save herself from death, and tonight, one of the strangest stories begins. Dinarzade gently whispered in her sister's ear, "Dear sister, if you're still awake, tell us a sweet tale, so we may pass the night in delight." Scheherazade smiled, her eyes meeting King Shahryar's gaze. "If the king permits, I shall continue the story from where I left it last night." King Shahryar, already eager to listen, nodded. "Continue the tale." Scheherazade continued her tale. While the merchant was waiting in the desert for the genie, another old man arrived, accompanied by 2 dogs. The old man, who seemed wise and dignified, asked the merchant about his situation. And when he heard why the merchant was waiting for the genie, he said, "Then I shall wait too to see what happens. Staying alone in this dreadful desert is dangerous." As they spoke, a 3rd old man appeared. After hearing the story, he also decided to stay with them. Not long had passed when a swirling column of thick mist and dust appeared, like a whirlwind. It vanished suddenly, and out of it, the giant form of the genie emerged, holding a large cleaver in his hand. He came straight toward the merchant, grabbed his arm, and said without greeting or warning, "Prepare to die. I shall kill you, for you are the murderer of my son." The 3 old men trembled with fear and burst into tears, pleading for mercy. At that moment, as dawn approached, Scheherazade fell silent, postponing the rest of her tale until the following night, just as she had done before. King Shahryar, now enchanted by the story, once again delayed her execution by 1 more day. Morning came and King Shahryar did not order Scheherazade's execution. The Grand Vizier, her father, was overjoyed beyond words. All the nobles, dignitaries, and Scheherazade's family, indeed the entire city, were filled with wonder and astonishment. On the fourth night, just before dawn, the cool breeze of morning whispered through the dark. Dinarzade gently approached her sister and whispered, "Sister, if you're still awake, please continue the story from last night." Scheherazade smiled softly, glanced at King Shahryar, and with his permission, she began to speak once more. "O noble King Shahryar, when the old man, the one with the female dog, saw that the mighty jinn was about to strike the merchant down with his cleaver, he rushed forward and placed himself between them. He kissed the jinn's hands and pleaded, 'O King of the Jinn, I beg you to wait. Let me tell you a tale, a story so strange and wondrous that if you find it more captivating than the merchant's, then I ask you to forgive him 1/3 of his punishment.' The jinn paused for a moment, thinking deeply. Then he said, 'Very well, I accept your offer. Speak.'" The tale of the first old man and the she-dog. The first old man stepped forward and said, "O mighty king of the jinn, listen closely to my tale. This female dog you see beside me, she was once my wife. She was also my cousin, and I married her when we were both just 12 years old. For 22 years we lived together, but fate did not bless us with a child. To ease her sorrow over being barren, I tried to fill her life with joy and distractions. But deep down, my heart longed for a son. Eventually, I purchased a slave girl, and from her, God granted me a beautiful and intelligent boy. But my wife, overcome with jealousy and rage toward the boy and his mother, began to study magic while I was away. One day, in my absence, she used her sorcery to transform my son into a calf and his mother into a cow. Then she summoned my servant and said coldly, "Take this cow and fatten her up." When I returned from my travels, my wife told me my son had vanished and that his mother had died. Heartbroken, I spent a year in sorrow. Then, on the day of Eid al-Adha, we asked my servant to bring a cow for the sacrifice. Unbeknownst to me, it was my wife's slave, the boy's mother, in disguise. As I raised the knife, the cow trembled, and tears filled her eyes. I couldn't go through with it, so I handed her to my servant. But when he slaughtered her, her body held no meat, only bones. My servant brought a fat calf for the sacrifice, but when I looked into its eyes, I saw sorrow and tears. The calf rushed toward me and pressed its head against my legs, pleading with a love I couldn't ignore. I couldn't bring myself to harm it. Yet my wife insisted, "You must sacrifice this one." At that moment, Scheherazade said softly, "The dawn is breaking, my king." Dinarzade whispered, "Sister, what a delightful tale. Will you finish it later?" Scheherazade replied, "If His Majesty spares my life, I promise to tell the rest tomorrow. It's even more captivating." The king, eager to know what happened next, nodded and said, "Then we shall hear the ending tomorrow night." As dawn approached, with just an hour left before sunrise, Dinarzade called out softly, "Sister, if the king permits, please continue the story for me." The king, eager to hear what happened next, replied with a smile.
"With great pleasure. We are ready to listen."
Scheherazade said, "O noble king, the first old man with the she-dog continued his tale before the merchant, the other elders, and the mighty jinn. I took the knife and approached the calf, ready to sacrifice him. But as I looked into his eyes, I saw tears, so full of sorrow and longing that my heart shattered. I could not bring myself to harm him. I turned to my wife and said firmly, "I will not kill this calf. Bring another." She pleaded with me, but I stood my ground. I promised to save this one, at least until the next festival of sacrifice. The poor farmer led the calf back to his humble home, but his daughter, wise and gifted in the secret arts, looked into the creature's eyes and gasped. "Father," she whispered, "why have you brought a stranger into our home without a word?" Then, with certainty in her voice, she declared, "This is no ordinary calf. This is the son of our master." The farmer told me everything. I hurried to the stable. The calf couldn't speak, but the way he looked at me, I knew it was my son. The farmer's daughter, skilled in magic, stepped forward and said, "Master, I can break the spell." She brought water, whispered a spell, and poured it over the calf. In moments, my son stood before me once more. Tears filled my eyes as I embraced him. In gratitude, I promised her hand in marriage to my son. He accepted with joy. But before the wedding, the farmer's daughter cast a spell on my wife, turning her into this wicked female dog you see beside me. She remains that way to this day as punishment. The old man continued, "Since then, I've wandered the deserts. I cannot bear to stay at home, but I take this dog everywhere because I can never trust her again. That is my tale. Was it not strange and worthy?" The jinn, moved by his story, said, "Indeed, a marvelous tale. I grant a third of the merchant's punishment be forgiven." Then Scheherazade went on and said, "As soon as the first old man finished his tale, the second stepped forward, 2 black dogs by his side. 'O mighty jinn,' he said, 'let me tell you what happened to me and these 2 dogs. If my story amazes you even more, spare another third of the merchant's life." And with dawn breaking, Scheherazade fell silent. Dinarzade whispered, "Sister, what a wondrous tale." Scheherazade replied, "If the king permits, tomorrow night's story will be even more astonishing." King Shahryar, lost in thought, gave no order for her death, and went about his day. Can these 3 old men astonish the furious genie with their bizarre tales? In the next episode, you'll hear the unbelievable story of the second old man and his 2 dogs. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and let us know which character you found the most intriguing in this episode.